is this?
It was my first day as the manager of the most important hotel in the country. The problem? I accidentally saw the Mafia Boss completely exposed in the bathtub. Now I have a huge problem. I owe him a favor, and he won't collect it cheaply.
Welcome to my library. I'm Lena, and our story is just beginning.
Chapter 1. The Worst First Day.
Say my name again.
I should have noticed something was wrong when the master key turned too easily in the lock of room 1207, and I should have knocked before entering, should have paid attention to literally any detail indicating that room was occupied. But no, Ren Parker never does things the simple way, and my first day as a manager in training at the Sinclair Hotel had to be memorable, right? And it was, for absolutely the wrong reason. Oliver, the official manager, had given me a complete tour that morning where he emphasized 5 stars, exclusive clientele, absolute discretion, and the words still echoed in my head as I held my clipboard like it was a protective shield against every mistake I could make. I had dreamed of this moment for 4 years of college because hospitality was my passion, and one day I would have my own hotel. But first I needed to survive the first day without getting fired. The checklist was simple enough. VIP rooms, check amenities, make sure everything was perfect for the most important guests, and room 1207 was at the top of the list. Premium amenities, my paper said, which meant towels, bath products, minibar, simple, quick, impossible to mess up. I walked in humming softly, a song I'd heard on the radio that morning, and the room was stunning with its modern decor, shades of gray and gold, panoramic city view. I went straight to the bathroom with my mental checklist already running through white towels that were soft and perfectly folded, ridiculously expensive brand bath products, everything impeccable, and I just needed to confirm and move on to the next room. That's when I heard it, a low sound, water moving. My brain took 3 full seconds to process what that meant, and I turned my head slowly, very slowly, as if sudden movement could change reality. He was in the bathtub. Not just any bathtub, but the giant whirlpool tub, surrounded by Italian marble, filled with foam up to his neck. And not just any person, but a man who looked like he'd stepped out of some luxury magazine I could never afford, with dark hair slightly wet, chiseled jaw, eyes watching me with one eyebrow raised in pure amusement. He held a cigar in one hand and a glass of whiskey in the other, while classical music played softly somewhere, and the whole scene screamed wealth, power, and a confidence so absurd it bordered on obscene. And I had just invaded. Time froze, and my brain went into complete meltdown, as every cell in my body screamed contradictory commands. Run, apologize, die of embarrassment right there. He looked at me like he was watching a particularly interesting show with no trace of surprise, no trace of anger, just that raised eyebrow and a smile starting to form at the corner of his mouth. Room service has improved considerably, he said in a voice that was deep and drawling, loaded with irony. He had an accent I couldn't identify, something rich, educated, dangerous in a way I couldn't explain. That's when I screamed. Not a polite scream of surprise, but a high-pitched, desperate scream, the kind that probably woke 3 entire floors of the hotel. The clipboard escaped from my hands like it had a life of its own and flew straight into the bathtub, falling with a wet splash in the middle of the foam, and idiotic instinct made me try to grab it back. I leaned over the edge of the tub with my hand stretched out, still screaming internally, and that's when my shoe found a puddle of water on the marble floor. The world tilted sideways. My body pitched forward with gravity pulling hard, and all I could think was that I was going to fall face first into that bathtub, on top of that ridiculously attractive man who was completely naked under the foam. This would be recorded as the worst death by humiliation in modern hospitality history. A hand closed around my wrist, strong, firm, too fast to be accidental. He caught me midair, stopping my free fall into the tub, and for one absurd second we stayed like that with me half dangling over the edge, face inches from the foam, him holding my wrist with an ease that indicated real strength under that relaxed posture. Water dripped from my arm and my heart was beating so loud I was sure he could hear it. I looked up slowly. He was watching me, and up close it was worse, or better. No, definitely worse. Dark eyes, intense, with a gleam of genuine humor that made my stomach do strange flips, a small scar on his chin, eyelashes too long to be fair, and that smile, God, that smile, half amusement, half something I didn't want to name. Sorry, I managed to squeak with my voice 3 octaves higher than normal. Wrong door, wrong room. I didn't see anything. Clearly saw something, he replied, still holding me, voice dripping with irony. Did you like it? My face exploded in flames, and I could feel the heat rising from my neck to my hairline. I pulled back hard, and he released me immediately, the gesture controlled, and I stumbled over my own feet, almost falling again, but managed to balance myself by pure miracle. My clipboard floated pathetically in the foam, and he looked down, then at me, eyebrow raised again. "Want it back?" he asked, indicating the clipboard with his head, "or I can keep it as a souvenir of the day." Sorry, I repeated, because apparently my vocabulary had shrunk to one word. I spun around and ran, literally ran out of the bathroom, crossed the room in 2 seconds, opened the door with such force it hit the wall, and practically flew into the hallway. My breathing came in short bursts with my hands trembling and heart still racing. I leaned against the hallway wall, trying to process what had just happened. First day, first hour actually, and I had invaded a guest's bath. Not just invaded, but screamed. Almost fell into the tub, left my clipboard floating in foam, potentially touching. No, I wasn't going to think about that. I was fired, obviously fired. Oliver was going to kill me before the official termination. I went down to the lobby in steps that tried to look professional but were closer to desperate escape. And Oliver was near reception, checking something on his tablet, and when he saw me, his face lit up. "Ren, how'd it go? Did you manage to check the VIP rooms?" I swallowed hard. I invaded a guest's bath. The tablet almost fell from his hands. "You what? Room 1207. The key worked and I walked in, and he was in the bathtub, and..." My voice got higher with each word. "I didn't know anyone was there." Oliver went pale, like ghostly white. Which room did you say? 1207? He closed his eyes, and for a long moment he said nothing. When he opened them again, there was something in his eyes that looked like genuine terror. "You need to apologize personally now. I already tried," screaming and running away, but "Ren," he put his hands on my shoulders, looking at me with deadly seriousness. "This guest is important, very important, and you can't leave it like this." My stomach sank. How important? The kind that can shut this hotel down with one phone call. Important. Great. Wonderful. I hadn't just invaded any guest's bath, but I had invaded the bath of someone powerful, and of course I had. 15 minutes later, he appeared in the lobby. I saw him before he saw me, and it was impossible not to see. He wore a dark luxury suit, with his hair perfectly styled now, still slightly damp. He walked like he owned the place with confidence in every step, and people automatically moved aside, making way without even realizing it. And then his eyes met mine. That smile appeared again, slow, dangerous, amused. I forced myself to walk toward him with each step, a battle against the instinct to run in the opposite direction, and I mentally rehearsed my formal apology. Professional, sincere, completely mortifying. "Sir," I began with my voice miraculously steady, "I would like to formally apologize for the incident in room 1207 because it was completely inappropriate and..." "Invasion of privacy," he interrupted with a voice soft but cutting. "Almost drowned me with the clipboard. Stole my peace and quiet bath view." I bit my lip. "Yes, all of that. Genuine apology. Won't happen again." He tilted his head, studying me with those dark eyes. "But..." Dramatic pause. "Your red face makes up for it, so you're forgiven." I blinked. "Thank you. But..." he continued, taking a step closer, too close. I could feel his warmth, the smell of something expensive and masculine. "You owe me a favor, and one day I'll collect." My heart accelerated for completely different reasons now. What kind of favor? That smile grew. "I'll decide when the time comes, and you may go. Manager in training." He walked away before I could respond, crossing the lobby with that irritating confidence. I stood there processing everything. I'd been forgiven. I wasn't going to be fired, but now I owed a favor to a dangerous and ridiculously attractive man whose name I didn't even know. My first day was going exactly as I'd imagined. Completely disastrous and somehow exciting. Chapter 2. The Wrong Impression.
Reset. Let's do this.
3 days, 3 full days since the foam bath incident, and I still didn't know his name. What I did know was that he was always at the hotel. Always. Like he lived here with his endless meetings in private rooms, phone calls, and discreet corners. That confident walk through the lobby that made everyone move aside like Moses parting the Red Sea. Oliver told me he was an important CEO of international imports, and that I should treat him with maximum discretion and respect, which translated to, stay away. I was trying. I swear I was trying. But he seemed to have a radar for finding me at the most inconvenient moments. Always with that sarcastic smile. Always with a comment that made my face heat up and my stomach do weird flips. Monday morning, I was reorganizing the lobby flower arrangement, one of my less glamorous but essential tasks, focused with my back to the entrance, trying to make the roses symmetrical. Invaded any more bathrooms today? I jumped, literally jumped an inch off the ground. 3 roses fell from the vase, and I turned too fast with my foot tangling in the base of the stand, and I had to grab the table to keep from falling, and he was 6 feet away in a dark gray suit, with his tie perfectly aligned, wearing that amused expression that was already becoming too familiar. You can't just show up like that without warning, I said, trying to recover my dignity while bending down to pick up the fallen roses. I can. Just did. He tilted his head. Are you avoiding me? No, I lied, obviously. I'm working. He didn't seem to believe it one bit. You still have my pen because it fell in the tub, remember? My face heated. Clipboard. It was a clipboard. Technically, it had a pen attached to it. He took a step closer. I want it back. It's swimming in foam in the hotel's sewer system. He laughed. Low and genuine, a sound that made something strange happen in my chest. So, you owe me another one. Add it to the favor tab. I finished arranging the roses with more force than necessary. Oh, I'm keeping a very detailed list. He was already walking away with that confident stride as always. Good morning, Ren. He knew my name, of course he did. Name tag, obviously. But the way he said it, drawling and smooth, made my name sound completely different. Tuesday afternoon I was dealing with a particularly difficult guest. A woman about 60 years old with expensive jewelry, and the attitude of someone who'd never heard the word no in her life. This is unacceptable, she was practically yelling at reception. I booked a suite with a park view. This one has a view of the building next door. I took a deep breath with my professional smile firmly in place. Mrs. Whitmore, I understand your frustration, but unfortunately there was a problem with the reservation system. I don't care about systems. I want my suite. Mia from reception shot me a look of moral support, and I kept trying, calm and professional, even though I wanted to stick my head in a bucket of ice. I can offer you an upgrade to a superior suite at no additional cost with a premium view. You think you can buy me off with an upgrade? From the corner of my eye, I saw him leaning against a lobby column, watching the whole scene with his arms crossed and an expression impossible to read. Great. An audience for my professional humiliation. It took 15 minutes, but I finally managed to calm Mrs. Whitmore down with an upgrade, complimentary welcome basket from management, and a reservation at the most exclusive restaurant in the city, and she left satisfied, finally. I allowed myself a second of exhaustion with my shoulders dropping. Impressive. I turned and he was beside me now. And when had he gotten close? Because this man moved like a cat. Part of the job, I murmured, still processing the last 15 minutes. She was horrible, and you were patient. He studied me with those dark eyes. Most would have lost their temper. I work in hospitality, so losing my temper isn't an option. He seemed to consider this, even when they deserve it, especially when they deserve it. And I didn't know why I was having this conversation with him. Something passed across his face. Respect, maybe. Or maybe I was imagining it. You need coffee, he said. Didn't ask, but stated it as fact. I need to work. 5 minutes. You just survived a master-level Karen and you deserve coffee. I hesitated, but he was already walking toward the hotel cafe, clearly expecting me to follow. And I followed, like an idiot. Wednesday morning, fate finally decided I hadn't suffered enough. The elevator. I was coming down from the 10th floor after checking on an air conditioning complaint with the door opening on the 8th. And of course, it was him getting in. Black suit today with no tie and 2 buttons open on his shirt, hair slightly messy like he'd run his hand through it. And he entered, pressed the lobby button, stood on the opposite side. Small space, heavy silence, and I stared fixedly at the descending numbers. 7, 6, 5. The elevator shook, stopped. Lights flickered once, twice, then stabilized, but we didn't move. You're kidding me, I muttered, looking at the panel. He was already pressing the emergency button once, twice, 3 times, but nothing happened. Maintenance, he said with a voice too calm for someone stuck in an elevator, and he picked up the emergency phone, spoke quickly in an authoritative tone, then hung up. 45 minutes. 45? My voice came out strangled. Minutes? Electrical problem on the 5th floor, and they're fixing it. He leaned against the wall, completely relaxed. Could be worse. How exactly could it be worse? You could be alone. That smile appeared. Or with Mrs. Whitmore. Despite everything, I laughed. A somewhat hysterical sound, but I laughed. I leaned against the opposite wall with maximum distance possible in 2 square meters, and he watched me with that intensity that made my skin tingle. So, he said, after a silence that was too long, besides invading bathrooms, what do you do? Manage hotels, or I will manage eventually. And why was I answering? It's my dream. Ambitious. He tilted his head. I like that. And you? What do you do? I was trying to be polite, make conversation, like normal people stuck in elevators. I import things. Oliver mentioned that, but what kind of things? He smiled, slow and dangerous. Things people want but shouldn't have. That should scare me. Probably should, but it only made my curiosity grow. That's deliberately vague. It is. He didn't deny it. Are you always like this? Like what? Mysterious? Evasive? Sarcastic? Usually. He crossed his arms. Are you always like this? Like what? Direct? Persistent, adorable when you're annoyed. My face heated. I'm not adorable. I disagree. He seemed to be enjoying himself immensely, especially when you blush. And you do it a lot. Because you say things. I stopped. Breathed. I'm not playing this game. What game? This one. Whatever you're doing. And what am I doing? He leaned slightly forward. Not much. just enough to make the space feel smaller. Provoking. On purpose. Guilty. There was no remorse in his voice. But you provoke back now, have you noticed? He was right. And when had I started fighting back? When had I stopped just blushing and running? The lights flickered again. Hard this time. Went out completely for 2 seconds. Total darkness. My heart raced and my hand reached out instinctively, searching for support, and found something solid and warm. His arm. The lights came back. I was holding his arm hard enough to leave a mark, and he had moved closer. Much closer, with his hand covering mine where I gripped his arm. "Hey," he said with a voice that was different, softer, almost gentle. "Easy, it's just maintenance." I know, but I didn't let go, not yet. He didn't try to make me let go, and just stayed there with his hand warm over mine, his presence solid and strangely comforting. "You're afraid of the dark?" There was no judgment in the question, just curiosity. Elevators, since I was a kid, and I didn't know why I was admitting this. Got stuck once for 4 hours when I was 7. Something changed in his face. Understanding. That explains the panic. It's not panic, it's rational caution. Of course, he wasn't agreeing. He was humoring me, but gently. I realized I was still holding his arm, and that his hand still covered mine, and that we were too close to be casual. I let go quickly and moved back as far as possible. "Sorry, Reflex. You don't need to apologize." He returned to his side of the elevator, but something had changed and the tension in the air was different. Denser. Silence stretched. Not comfortable, but not exactly uncomfortable either. "Can I ask you something?" My voice sounded louder than I intended. "You can, though I'm not promising to answer. Why are you always here at the hotel?" He considered the question for too long. "Business. For 3 days straight? Every day? I'm meticulous, and I like to supervise personally." "Supervise what? It's just a hotel." And even as I spoke, I knew there was something wrong with that logic. That smile returned. Secretive, just a hotel. Before I could press further, the elevator shook again, descended, lights stabilized, and the numbers started changing again. 5, 4, 3. When we reached the lobby, the door opened, revealing a small crowd with maintenance technicians. Oliver looking stressed, and Mia visibly worried. "Ren, are you okay?" Oliver practically ran to me. "I'm fine, just 45 minutes stuck." I tried to sound casual. I left quickly, needing space, air, anything that wasn't that elevator and that man who made my brain short-circuit. "Ren." I turned and he was still in the elevator doorway, watching me with that disturbing intensity. "Thank you," he said, "for not panicking." I panicked a little. Just a little, and it was brave. He hesitated. Something rare for him. "If you need anything, let me know." And then he was gone, crossing the lobby with that confident walk, leaving me processing what had just happened. Mia appeared at my side with eyes wide. "Okay, what was that?" "What was what?" "The tension. You two almost burst into flames in that elevator." "There's no tension." My voice came out too high to be convincing. "Ren." She looked at me with that best friend expression that sees everything. "You're red." And he was different, less threatening, more human. "You're imagining things. I'm seeing things and so are you." She poked my shoulder. "Who is he?" "I don't know. A guest. An important businessman. An important businessman who looks at you like..." She paused, searching for words. "Like he's trying to solve a complicated and fascinating puzzle." Later that night at home, lying in bed, I could still feel it. The warmth of his hand over mine. The solidity of his arm when I held it tight. The way he spoke more gently when he noticed my fear. He was dangerous, and everything about him screamed danger. The way people moved aside. The vague comments about imports. The natural authority that made even Oliver tremble. But with me, he was different. Sarcastic, yes. Provocative always. But not threatening. Never threatening. I grabbed my phone and typed into Google, "Grayson Hunt businessman." Vague articles appeared with photos at charity events. Always with different women who were always beautiful, and rumors about international connections and questionable business. Nothing concrete, a lot of speculation. I closed my phone. I should stay away because every survival instinct screamed to keep my distance. But a small, stubborn, insistent part of me wanted to understand. Who was he really? Why did he provoke me so much? Why did that moment in the elevator feel so significant? And why, for the first time in years, was I thinking about someone besides my work and my dreams? This was dangerous. And he was dangerous. But maybe, just maybe, I was willing to take the risk. Chapter 3. The Favor.
Just trust me tonight.
Friday mid-afternoon, I was in my tiny office reviewing occupancy reports when he appeared. Without knocking, just opened the door and walked in like he owned the place. I looked up, with my heart already accelerating for reasons I refused to analyze, and he was wearing a navy blue suit today with no jacket and sleeves rolled up to his elbows, revealing forearms that had no right to be so. "No, focus, Ren." Can I help you? I tried to sound professional and failed miserably. You can? He closed the door behind him. Remember the favor? My stomach sank. You're collecting now? I'm collecting now. He leaned against my desk, too close to be casual. I need a date for a charity event tomorrow night. I blinked. What? Event. Charity. Pretty dress. Smile. Pretend you tolerate me. He spoke like he was dictating a shopping list. Why me? Because you owe me a favor. And because he paused, as if considering how much to reveal. Because I need someone real. Real? I repeated, confused. Someone who isn't in this world. Someone who doesn't have ulterior motives. Someone who invaded my bath and almost drowned in foam. That sardonic smile appeared. You're perfect. That doesn't sound like a compliment. It is. He tilted his head. So? Will you pay your debt, or do I need to collect another way? The way he said it with his voice low and drawling made my skin tingle. I don't. I'm not from that world. And I don't know how to act at these events. Be yourself. That's all I ask. What if I embarrass you? Impossible. He sounded so certain of it, I almost believed him. I'll pick you up at 7, and the dress will arrive at your place tonight. How do you know where I live? I have my resources. He was already turning to leave. Wait. My voice stopped him at the door. Why can't you take someone else? Someone more suitable. He looked at me over his shoulder. Because I don't want someone else. I want you. And he left, leaving me processing those last 4 words that sounded too dangerous for my mental health. The dress arrived at 6 in the evening. Huge box with a brand I only saw in store windows I never entered. And when I opened it, I almost fainted. Dark blue, almost black. Satin that felt like liquid in my hands. Elegant and sophisticated and very expensive. Mia had come to help me, and was now screaming in my ear. This is haute couture! Ren, who is this man? A guest. I held the dress like it might break. A very insistent guest. Who sends designer dresses to hotel employees? She looked at me with total disbelief. Are you crazy, or am I crazy? Probably both. I looked at the dress again because it was beautiful, perfect, and terrifying. Mia practically pushed me into the bathroom. Put it on now. I'll do your hair and makeup and you're going to kill it. An hour and a half later, I didn't recognize myself in the mirror. The dress fit perfectly, like it had been made for me. And how had he gotten my exact size? Mia had put my hair up in an elegant bun with loose strands framing my face. And the makeup was soft, but sophisticated. You look beautiful, Mia said with eyes shining. Like, seriously beautiful, and he's going to die. That's not the objective. It should be, she smiled mischievously. Revenge for the bath scare. At 7 on the dot, the doorbell rang. I took 3 deep breaths before opening the door. He was in a tuxedo, full tuxedo with a bow tie perfectly aligned and his hair slicked back. And those dark eyes assessed me from top to bottom in a second that seemed to last an eternity. And then he stopped, really stopped, with his expression changing to something I'd never seen on his face. He cleared his throat. You look good without a clipboard. You look good without foam, I replied, because apparently my brain had turned off the filter. He laughed, genuine, that sound that made my stomach flip. Touché. He offered his arm, and I hesitated for just a second before accepting, feeling how solid and warm it was through the expensive fabric of the tuxedo. The limousine waited at the curb, and of course it was a limousine. Inside was elegant and silent with too much space for 2 people, and he sat on the opposite side, watching me with that disturbing intensity. Nervous? He asked. Terrified, and honesty seemed safer than lies. You don't need to be. Just stay by my side and smile when appropriate, and I'll handle the rest. Who's going to be there? Rich people, bored people. People pretending they care about charity. There was heavy cynicism in his voice. Nobody who really matters. Then why go? Appearances, business, obligations. He looked out the window. Tedious things that are part of my world. World of imports? I tried to keep my tone light. He looked back at me with something like amusement in his eyes. Something like that. The event was at a hotel even more luxurious than the Sinclair, with everything gold, crystal chandeliers, and people in clothes that cost more than cars. When we got out of the limousine, he offered his arm again. Ready? No, but I accepted anyway. We entered together, and I immediately felt stares, many stares, with people noticing and commenting quietly, obvious curiosity on every face. He didn't seem to care at all, and walked with that natural confidence, guiding me through the crowd. Grayson! An older man appeared with a political smile. What a surprise to see you here. Richard, he greeted with a brief nod. This is my associate, Ren Parker. Associate. Deliberately vague. Smart. Pleasure, I managed to say with a polite smile. It was 15 minutes of introductions with businessmen, investors, and people whose names I recognized from magazines, all curious about who I was, and he always answered the same thing, associate. And I realized he was protecting me, not putting me in any specific box, leaving room for interpretation. You're good at this, I murmured when we finally had a moment alone. At what? Navigating. This world, looking completely at ease. Practice. He grabbed 2 champagne flutes from a passing tray and offered me one. You're doing well too. I'm faking very well. Everyone is. He took a sip. The difference is you're genuine when you smile. I didn't know what to say to that. The night continued with more superficial conversations and more introductions, but then I noticed men looking at me, not disrespectfully, just looking, noticing, and I noticed something else, his hand on my waist. It had appeared without me realizing, possessive and firm, not squeezing, just present, a warning. Why did you do that? I whispered when a particularly insistent group finally moved away. Do what? He knew exactly what. The hand on my waist. That idiot was looking too much. Brutal honesty with no remorse. And that bothers you? Yes. Simple and direct. My heart accelerated. Why? He looked at me. Really looked. Because you're here with me. Before I could process that, they announced the opening waltz. Do you dance? He asked. Not very well. Perfect. Neither do I. An obvious lie. He guided me to the dance floor with his hand on my waist, and the other holding my hand, and we started moving, and I discovered he was an exceptional liar. He danced perfectly, led with ease, guided me through the steps like we'd done this 1,000 times. You lied, I accused quietly. About not knowing how to dance. That smile appeared. Hidden talent, like invading bathrooms, and fighting back was becoming reflex. He laughed, low and close to my ear. You're quick. I learned from the best sarcastic person I know. I feel honored. We were too close now, too close, and I could feel his warmth, the smell of something expensive and masculine that I was starting to associate only with him. You're different tonight, I dared to say. Different how? Less sharp, more. I searched for the right word. Present. Something passed across his face. Surprise, maybe. You do this to me. Do what? Make me forget. He spoke so quietly I almost didn't hear. Everything that isn't this, here, now, you. My heart was beating so hard I was sure he could feel it. That's dangerous. I know. He didn't deny it. The music changed to something slower, and he pulled me even closer. Not inappropriate, but definitely intimate. Gray, I used the name I'd heard other people call him, and it sounded strange in my mouth, too familiar. Who are you really? He looked at me with total intensity. Someone who should stay away from you. But you're not. But I'm not. A simple agreement. The music ended with polite applause, and he released me slowly, as if reluctant. I'm going to the restroom, I murmured, needing air, space, anything. He nodded. I'll wait. The women's restroom was too luxurious for its own purposes, with marble, gilded mirrors, and fresh flowers. I was composing myself when 2 women entered, elegant with expensive jewelry, talking loudly. Did you see? Grace and Hunt brought a date. I froze in the stall. Impossible. He never brings anyone and always comes alone. Well, I saw it with my own eyes. A pretty brunette, but who is she? No idea, but whoever she is, be careful. Why? Because Hunt is, rich and powerful, but there are rumors. What kind of rumors? The kind where it's better not to ask too much. Dark business, dangerous connections. A pause then, but you have to admit he's gorgeous and terrifying. The best combination. Laughter. Then they left. I stayed there processing. Rumors, dark business, dangerous connections. Everything confirming what I already kind of knew. But then why? When I came out and saw him waiting, leaning against a column with that bored air until he saw me and his face changed, why was my first thought not fear but something completely different? Ready to go? He asked. Ready. In the limousine back there was a different silence, heavy and full of unspoken things. Thank you, he said suddenly. For tonight. You're welcome. Did I pay my debt? Not even close. That smile appeared, but it was a good start. When he dropped me off at home, he got out to open my door. An old-fashioned gesture. A gentleman. I stood there in my expensive dress after this strange night with total confusion. Gray. He stopped and looked at me. Who are you really? I asked again. Someone trying to figure out the same thing. A cryptic answer. Honest in a crooked way. He waited until I went inside, and the limousine only left when my door closed. Inside, Mia was waiting for me with eyes wide. So, I threw myself on the couch with my brain still processing. I think I'm in trouble. What kind of trouble? The kind where you start to care about someone you should probably avoid. The kind where danger seems less important than the way he looks at you. The worst kind, I answered. And for the first time, I wasn't sure if I was ready for what came next. Chapter 4. Coffee and Complications.
Coffee changes everything, Ren.
Monday morning, a week after the event, I was reorganizing the reception filing system when I felt it. That presence, that specific warmth my skin had learned to recognize before I even turned my head. Gray was leaning against the reception counter in a gray suit with no tie and coffee in hand, watching me with that small smile that meant trouble. "Good morning, Ren." My name and his voice still did strange things to my stomach. "Good morning. Need something?" "Coffee." He raised the cup he already had. "With me now. I'm working. 15 minutes. You just survived a master-level Karen and you deserve coffee." I hesitated, but he was already walking toward the hotel cafe, clearly expecting me to follow, and I followed, like an idiot. We sat at a discreet little table in the hotel cafe, and he'd brought a second coffee for me, knew how I took it, and when had he paid attention to that? "So," he began, too relaxed in his chair, "how was the rest of your weekend?" "Normal. Work. Netflix. Nothing exciting." I took a sip, and it was perfect. Of course it was perfect. "And yours?" "Tedious. Meetings. More meetings." He paused. "Nothing compared to Saturday." My face heated. "It was interesting." "Interesting?" He tilted his head with obvious amusement. "That's your official assessment? Polite? Elegant? Stressful?" I counted on my fingers. "Definitely outside my comfort zone." "Didn't seem like it. You were perfect." "I was faking very well. Or maybe you belong in that world more than you think." He watched me with that intensity. "People liked you. People were polite to me. It's different." "I disagree. I saw how they reacted and you're authentic," which is rare in that environment. I didn't know what to do with his compliments because they always seemed too sincere, too heavy. "Why are you being nice?" The question came out before I could filter it. He smiled. Slow. "I'm always nice." "You're sarcastic, provocative, mysterious?" I counted on my fingers. "Nice is new. Maybe you bring that out in me. Or maybe you're planning something. Always so suspicious." But he was smiling. This became routine where every morning he appeared with coffee, 15 minutes, and conversations that started superficial and gradually grew deeper. Tuesday he asked about my family, and I told him about my parents, retired in a small town, proud but worried about my career choices. Wednesday he mentioned never having had a stable family life with absent parents, raised by a grandmother who died when he was 15, and all said casually, "But I saw the hidden pain." Thursday we laughed about hospitality disaster stories because I had millions, and he pretended surprise at each one. "You attract chaos," he observed with eyes shining. "Chaos attracts me," I corrected. Big difference. Not so much. And I realized we were building something. Knowledge and familiarity, something dangerous and inevitable. Friday, the universe decided I was too comfortable. A delivery guy arrived mid-afternoon with a gigantic flower arrangement of white roses, lilies, and something that looked like rare orchids, enormous and ridiculous and beautiful. "For Ren Parker," the delivery guy announced. Everyone at reception looked, and Mia practically jumped for joy. I grabbed the card with trembling hands, and there were just 4 words in elegant handwriting. "Thank you for the company. J." My face was on fire, and I could feel everyone staring, speculating. "Who's G?" Mia whispered too loudly. "Nobody." "A guest thanking me for a favor." I tried to sound casual. I picked up the vase and it was heavy, very heavy, and I started walking toward my office. And of course, because the universe hated me, my heel found an irregularity in the carpet. I tripped. The vase flew, literally flew through the air, flowers scattered in slow motion, water everywhere, and me falling to my knees, trying to catch something, anything. And then I heard it, that laugh, deep, genuine, completely amused. I looked up and Gray was a few feet away, clearly coming from the elevator, watching the total disaster that was me surrounded by wet flowers and zero dignity. He approached, still laughing, and started gathering flowers. "Graceful," he commented, picking up 3 roses. "Shut up." But I was smiling because it was impossible not to smile. He handed me the roses and our fingers touched, longer than necessary. "Did you like the flowers?" An innocent question with a not at all innocent look. "They were beautiful before I murdered them. They're still beautiful." He looked around at the water, the scattered petals, and me sitting on the floor. Chaotic, but beautiful. "Are you talking about the flowers or me?" That smile grew. "Both." Mia and 2 security guards came to help clean up, and Gray disappeared before I could thank him properly. But in my office later I found a single lily in a glass of water with a note, "Survivor, like you." The following Monday, I was preparing coffee for an important meeting in the executive lounge, with 15 cups on a huge tray and careful hands. Everything was perfect until it wasn't. I turned too fast. The tray tilted, and a cup slid, directly onto Gray, who had just entered the lounge. Hot coffee spilled on his suit sleeve, white and obviously white. I froze, absolutely froze. He looked at the stained sleeve, then at me, with an expression unreadable. "I'm so sorry. So sorry. I'll pay for cleaning, or a new suit." He laughed. Not a polite laugh, but a real belly laugh with his head thrown back and eyes shining. He was still laughing. "You have something against me being wet." It took me 3 seconds to process. "Bath? foam, now coffee. My face exploded in flames. That wasn't on purpose. Of course not. He took off his jacket, revealing the white shirt underneath. But it's becoming a pattern. It's not a pattern. It's 2 isolated incidents. In 3 weeks, he folded the jacket over his arm. Statistically significant. You can't use statistics against me right now. I can. Just did. And he was completely unconcerned because any other man would be furious. But he found it hilarious. You're not mad. Why would I be? It was an accident. He moved closer. And it's worth it to see you blush like that. This man was going to kill me, from embarrassment or something else. And I still didn't know which. Wednesday, everything crumbled. A guest was yelling, loud and offensive, at me. This is unacceptable. 7 a.m. wake-up call. Wrong room service. This is a joke of a hotel. I took a deep breath, professional and calm. Sir, I apologize for the inconvenience and I can offer. I don't want offers. I want competence, something that's clearly lacking here. Oliver was beside me, equally pale, and the guest continued with words getting crueler. And then I noticed Gray in the lobby, watching everything, with a dangerous expression. The guest finally left, still complaining, and I was shaking, not from fear, but from contained rage and frustration. Ren, Oliver began. I'm fine. I wasn't, but I'd pretend until it was true. I turned to go back to work and almost ran into Gray. He's an idiot, he said, simple and direct. It's part of the job. It shouldn't be. There was something in his tone, something dark. You were professional and he was abusive. I can handle. I know you can. Doesn't mean you should. He hesitated. Dinner. Tonight. My room. I blinked. What? You had a terrible day, and I'm going to feed you. Simple as that. That's not appropriate. Do I care? He was already walking away. 8 o'clock, room 1207, don't be late. At 8 o'clock I was at the door of room 1207. The same door as the original disaster, and of course it was. I knocked 3 times. He opened it, looking casual in jeans and a button-down shirt, with the first 3 buttons undone, bare feet, and hair slightly messy. And the smell? Food. Real food. Coming in, or are you going to stand there? He moved aside, making space. I entered and the table was set with Thai food from a restaurant I knew was ridiculously expensive. Candles. And nothing over the top, just cozy. You cooked? I knew the answer. I lied. Delivery. He indicated a chair. But I heated the plates. Does that count? I sat, still processing. Why did you do this? He sat across from me. Because you had a horrible day. Because no one should talk to you that way. Because... A pause. Because I wanted to. We ate in comfortable silence for a few minutes and the food was amazing. But better, the company was unexpectedly easy. Why are you nice to me? The question escaped. He looked up. What do you mean? You're intimidating, powerful, and everyone's afraid of you. I gestured with my fork. But with me, you're different. Why? Gray put his fork down and looked at me. Really looked. Because you see me as Gray, not the rest. The rest? Things you don't want to know. Cryptic as always. What if I do want to know? You don't. Trust me. There was weight in that. A warning. You scare me sometimes, I admitted. Not physically, but the intensity, the mystery, the way everyone reacts to you. I should scare you. He was serious now. Completely serious. I'm not a good person, Ren. I don't believe that. You should. You sent flowers, laughed at coffee on your suit, made dinner because I had a bad day. I counted on my fingers. Bad people don't do that. Bad people do what they want, and I want you happy. Heavy silence with words suspended in the air. Why? My voice came out small. Because you make me laugh. Make me forget the rest. Make me want to be better. He ran his hand through his hair. And that's terrifying. My heart was racing. Gray, don't say anything, not yet. He stood. Dessert. I brought cheesecake. The rest of the night passed in lighter conversation with childhood stories and favorite movies, and we discovered we both hated cilantro and loved thunderstorms. When I left, it was past midnight. At the door, he held my wrist. Gentle. Thank you. For what? For seeing me, Gray. Not the rest. Always. And I didn't know when I decided this, but it was true. He released my wrist slowly. Reluctant. In the car going home, I admitted to myself that I was falling in love with a dangerous man, mysterious and completely wrong for me, and somehow it felt completely right. Chapter 5. Truths and Lies.
And now what?
2 weeks. 2 weeks since that dinner in his room, and things had changed. Not drastically, but subtly and dangerously. Gray still showed up for coffee every morning, but now he sometimes brought croissants, my favorites. And how did he know? I didn't ask. He still provoked me constantly, but the comments had layers now, double meanings, things that made my heart race. And me, I was falling, fast and deep, for a man I still didn't completely understand. But the universe doesn't let you be happy for long without collecting payment. Thursday morning, I was in Oliver's office discussing changes to the reservation system, and he was distracted, checking emails, answering messages. Of course, Mr. Hunt asked to implement this by Friday, he murmured, more to himself than to me. I froze. Mr. Hunt, Oliver looked up, realized what he'd said, and went visibly pale. The guest, Gray Hunt, he made a suggestion, and why would a guest have authority to request system changes? My voice came out sharper than intended. He's an important guest. Very important. Oliver was sweating. We value his opinion. Oliver, I leaned forward. Who is he really? Ren, I can't. Can't or won't. He closed his laptop and looked at me with something like pity. Some questions are better asked directly to the person involved. I left the office with more questions than answers. Mr. Hunt, authority over internal changes. Oliver terrified just mentioning the name. Who exactly was Gray? Friday afternoon, the second puzzle piece fell. A man entered the hotel, tall with broad shoulders, dark suit, and a serious expression, and there was something about him that screamed professional danger, private security, bodyguard, something like that. He went straight to reception, looking for Gray Hunt. He's in a meeting in the executive lounge. I responded automatically. Can I take a message? The man assessed me, long and calculated. You're Ren Parker. It wasn't a question, but a statement. I am? And you are? Dominic. He didn't offer a last name. I work with Gray. Imports? I tried to sound casual. Something like humor passed across his face. Something like that. I'll let him know you're looking for him. I picked up the internal phone. He mentioned you. Dominic spoke before I dialed. I paused. He did? Said to be careful. That you're important. He tilted his head slightly. Gray doesn't say that about many people. Before I could respond, he was already walking toward the elevator, leaving me with more questions and more pieces of a puzzle I didn't know I was assembling. Gray mentioned me to his associates and said I was important. What exactly was happening? Saturday, Mia came to my apartment with a laptop, wine, and determination in her eyes. Okay, let's find out who your mysterious man is. She opened the computer before even sitting down. He's not my Ren, flowers, private dinners, daily coffees. He's something. She was already typing. Grayson Hunt, right? Mia, I don't know if we should. Too late. She spun the screen. Articles appeared. Several of them, with photos from charity events where Gray was always impeccable, always with different women, all beautiful, and all clearly temporary. Businessman Grayson Hunt present at annual gala, Mia read. Import magnate seen at charity event. More articles. More photos, but nothing concrete, and everything was vague. International imports, diverse business, private investor, and then a different article appeared, a tabloid with speculation. Grayson Hunt, questionable connections, Mia read with her voice lowering. Rumors of involvement with criminal organizations never confirmed. Authorities deny active investigation. My stomach sank. Ren, Mia looked at me. Did you know about this? I suspected a little, not quite like this. I didn't finish the sentence. Is he dangerous? Not to me. I was certain of that. Absolute. Never to me. How do you know? I just know, and I did, deep down where instinct lives, because Gray could be dangerous, but not to me. Never to me. Mia closed the laptop slowly. What are you going to do? Ask. He deserves a chance to explain. What if the explanation is bad? Then I'll deal with it. I tried to sound more confident than I felt. Monday. I found Gray at the cafe at the usual time with coffee already waiting, but something was different because he looked tense and alert. I sat and took a deep breath. Gray, I need to ask you something. He leaned back with a careful expression. Ask. Who are you really? Silence. Long and heavy. Why are you asking? He didn't deny or deflect. Just asked back. Because Oliver acts like you own the hotel. Because a man named Dominic said you mentioned me. Because I searched and I paused. Because I care, and everyone acts strange around you. Gray looked at his coffee cup, then at me, with a decision happening behind those dark eyes. I do business. His voice was low and controlled. Some within the law, some outside it. My heart raced. Outside how? Ren? Mafia? The word came out before I could reconsider. His silence was answer enough. Not verbal confirmation, but confirmation in his eyes, in his posture, in the way he waited for my reaction. I swallowed hard and processed. Would you hurt me? Never. The answer came fierce, immediate, and without hesitation. Never, Ren. Ever. So, I organized my thoughts. I'm not part of your life, that part. And you don't bring that to me here, right? Right. He was still watching me. Cautious. Then, okay. Gray froze. Okay? Okay, I repeated, firmer now. You don't involve me in it, and you don't hurt me. So, okay, you should be afraid. Probably. I took a sip of coffee, but I'm not. You're crazy. But there was something on his face. Admiration, relief, something deeper. You already knew that. I tried to smile. Since the foam bath. He almost laughed, almost. But there was still tension. Something more. There's more. And it wasn't a question. Gray took a deep breath and looked around at the empty cafe at this hour with just us. I own this hotel. The world tilted. What? Hotel Sinclair. It's mine. A front to launder money. He was speaking quickly now, like he needed to get it all out. Oliver is a front, the official manager on paper, but I'm the real owner. My mind spun. Processing. I work for you. Technically, yes. Since the beginning. Since day one, my voice was strange and distant. When I walked into the room, when you forgave me, Yes, he leaned forward. But it doesn't change. It changes everything. I stood fast, needing air and space. It changes everything, Gray. Why? He stood too. Why does it change? Because now I don't know. My voice was too loud. I don't know if you want me or if I'm convenient. An available employee. Something to pass the time. Pain crossed his face, real and deep. You think I don't know what to think. I ran my hands through my hair. You're my boss technically. You're a criminal confirmed. You have secrets, many of them, and you're the only real thing in my life. He said it low and intense. The only thing that matters. How can I believe that? My voice broke. How can I know what's real and what's a game? Power? You controlling one more thing in your life? Because I never lied about my feelings. There was desperation in his voice now, real and raw. About everything else, yes. But about you? About us? Never. I can't. Tears were threatening. I can't process this right now. I took a step back, then another. And he didn't follow, but I saw it in his eyes. Panic, fear, something breaking. Ren, please, I need to think. My voice came out shaky. I need time to understand, to process everything. How much time? He looked desperate and lost, so different from the confident man I'd met. I don't know. Brutal honesty. I just don't know. I can wait. He took a step toward me and stopped when I backed away. I can wait as long as you need. What if I decide it's too much? That I can't do this? Raw pain appeared on his face. Then I'll have to accept it, but please, don't give up without thinking, without giving it a chance. I didn't answer because I couldn't, and I turned and left the cafe with fast steps, almost running. I felt his eyes burning on my back, desperate and destroyed. In my office, I closed the door, leaned against it, and slid to the floor with tears finally falling, silent and abundant. Gray owned the hotel, my secret boss, a confirmed criminal and money launderer, everything I should avoid. But he was also the man who laughed at my clumsiness, who sent flowers, who made dinner when I had bad days, who looked at me like I was precious. How to reconcile that? How to choose? My phone buzzed with a message from him. Sorry for not telling you before. Wanted to protect you. Wrong choice. One of many. But my feelings? Real. Completely. Always. Another text came seconds later. I won't pressure you. Won't show up. Take your time. But know this. You're not convenient. You're essential. Huge difference. A third text. The last one. I understand if you don't want this anymore. Understand if I ruined it. But please believe, every moment was real. You're real. What I feel is real. I love you. Always have. Since that ridiculous first day in the bathroom. And I'll keep loving you, even if you decide to walk away. I held the phone against my chest and cried harder now, without silence and without control. Because the truth, the terrifying truth, I loved him, even knowing everything, even with the danger, even with the lies. I loved him, but was love enough when there was so much against us? So much risk, so much uncertainty? I didn't have an answer, not yet. I only knew something had broken today, and I wasn't sure if we could fix it, or if we should even try. Chapter 6. Distance and Danger.
You're safe.
1 week, 7 full days without seeing him, without coffee, without provocations, without that presence that had become as essential as breathing. I was avoiding him actively, switching shifts with coworkers, arriving earlier, leaving later, anything to avoid crossing paths with Gray in the hotel hallways. Oliver looked at me with growing concern, but said nothing, and Mia tried to talk, but I deflected because work was my refuge, my distraction, my way of not thinking about the emptiness growing in my chest. But I knew, even without seeing him, I knew he was respecting my request for space because he came to the hotel less now, and I noticed from the way employees commented, from the absence of that energy that always filled the lobby when he was present. We were both miserable, and neither of us knew how to fix it. Tuesday morning flowers arrived, yellow roses in my second favorite color with a simple card, thinking of you. Gee, I looked at them for 10 full minutes because they were beautiful, perfect, and painful. I returned them and asked the delivery guy to take them back with a note. Please, don't. Wednesday I found an envelope under my office door, expensive paper with masculine and elegant handwriting. I'm not giving up, but I'll respect your space. Just know, I miss you. Every day, every hour. Gray. I stored it at the bottom of the drawer and didn't respond. Thursday another note came, shorter this time. Still here, waiting, always. Good Friday the last one. I love you. That doesn't change. Regardless of your decision. Gray, I cried. Reading that one, alone in the office. Silently. In his apartment, I didn't know, but Gray was destroyed. Dominic had come for a meeting and found the boss sprawled on the couch with whiskey in hand, staring at nothing. Boss, Dominic said with a careful tone, you're worse than a teenager. Shut up. There was no energy for real anger. She still hasn't responded. No. Gray took a long drink. And she won't. I ruined everything. You told the truth and you were honest. Too late. Should have told her before. He ran his hand through his hair in a gesture Dominic recognized. Stress, frustration, desperation. What are you going to do? Wait. Gray looked out the window at the city view, a view that meant nothing anymore without her. It's all I can do. Wait and pray. She gives me another chance. What if she doesn't? Silence. Long and heavy. Then I'll have to live with it. His voice was broken. And it'll destroy me, but I'll live. Dominic had never seen the boss like this. Vulnerable and lost and completely human. She'll come back, Dominic said with more hope than certainty. She loves you. I saw it in her eyes. Love isn't always enough. Gray finished the whiskey. Especially when you're me. What neither of us knew was that danger was closer than we imagined. Victor Kane had done his research as Gray's longtime rival, always looking for weakness, always waiting for the perfect opportunity to strike, and now he'd found it. Hunt has a weakness, Victor told his men with a predatory smile. A girl. An employee at his hotel. You sure, boss? One of the thugs asked. Absolutely. He's different and distracted. And the girl? She doesn't know how to protect herself. Victor banged on the table. We grab her. We have Hunt. Simple as that. Friday night I'd stayed late finishing reports, wanting to avoid going home, to the silence, to the thoughts about Gray that consumed me. It was almost 10 when I finally left, and the parking lot was empty with just a few cars and dim lighting. I should have noticed, and should have paid attention. I was halfway to my car when I heard it. Engine. Tires. Too fast. A black van appeared out of nowhere with the side door already open and 2 men jumping out. My brain took half a second to process. Danger. Real and immediate. I ran. Didn't think, just ran, but they were faster, and a hand closed around my arm, pulling hard. No! I screamed, loud and desperate. Help! I fought and kicked and hit one of them in the knee, and he cursed, and another tried to hold me, so I bit his hand hard with the taste of blood in my mouth. Stupid! He shoved me, and I fell with my knees scraping on asphalt and sharp pain shooting through me. They were surrounding me, 2 big men with me on the ground and alone. They were going to get me, going to take me, and then get away from her. A new voice, authoritative, with multiple voices joining in. 3 men appeared from where I didn't know, and it didn't matter. Dark suits with precise movements and professional training. Gray's security, it had to be. Everything happened fast, too fast, with a fight that was brief and brutal, and the men from the van fled and got in the vehicle with tires screeching and disappeared. I was shaking. Still on the ground, unable to move. One of the security guards approached gently. Ms. Parker, are you hurt? I don't know. My voice came out strange and distant. We'll take you to a safe place, and Mr. Hunt is on his way. Gray, of course, because he'd been protecting me even with the distance, even when I pushed him away. They helped me up and guided me to a black car that was luxurious with soft leather seats, and I was still shaking because I couldn't stop. 5 minutes. It only took 5 minutes until another car arrived and braked hard with the door opening before it even stopped completely. Gray. He got out running, literally running, with his hair messy and no jacket, and his shirt with wrong buttons like he'd dressed in a hurry. He reached the car window where I was with wild eyes that were desperate and searching for injuries. Are you okay? Are you okay? And it was the first time hearing real panic in his voice with no sarcasm, no control, just fear. I couldn't. The words didn't make sense because nothing made sense. He opened the door and pulled me out and into his arms, tight, so tight I could barely breathe. And I broke down completely, cried against his chest, loud and without control, with my body shaking violently. Shh. His hand was on my head, stroking and comforting. I've got you. No one hurts you. Never again, I promise. They were going to take me. But they didn't. You're safe with me. Always safe with me. I don't know how long we stayed like that with me crying, and him holding me, and the world reduced to this embrace, this safety. Finally, he loosened the embrace, just a little, enough to look at me with his hands framing my face and his thumbs wiping tears. I'm taking you to my place, and you're staying with me tonight. Don't argue. And it wasn't a request, but a statement. I had no energy to argue, and didn't want to because I just wanted to feel safe, and strangely, uniquely, in his arms was exactly where I felt that way. His apartment was surprising because I expected obvious luxury and ostentation, but it was different. A stunning penthouse with an incredible city view, yes, but the decor was minimalist, modern, and warm in an unexpected way. Shades of gray and dark blue with wood and books on shelves, and few photos but meaningful ones, including one of an older woman who was probably his grandmother. He guided me to the couch that was giant and soft and covered me with a blanket that appeared from somewhere. Tea. He disappeared into the kitchen and came back minutes later with a steaming cup. Chamomile. It'll help. I drank with my hand still shaking, and he sat beside me, close but not touching, respecting space even now. Gray, my voice came out hoarse. What was that? He took a deep breath. Victor Kane, a rival who wants my territory and my hotel. A pause. And he found out about you. My stomach sank. This is because of you? Yes. No beating around the bush, just brutal honesty. He wants to use you against me. Why do I matter to you? I needed to hear it, even though I already knew, and I needed the words. Gray slid off the couch to his knees in front of me with his eyes on mine, and total intensity. Because I love you. The world stopped completely. I've never said that to anyone. His voice was trembling now. Never felt this, but you. He took my hands gently. You turned my life upside down. Made me feel. Made me want to be better. Made me human again. I'm clumsy, annoying, chaotic. You're perfect. He squeezed my hands. For me, exactly as you are, every ridiculous disaster, every moment of stubbornness, every smile that lights up the whole day, perfect. Tears were falling again. Different now, not from fear, but from something bigger. Your world is going to kill me, I whispered. Almost did today. Something changed in his face with determination that was dangerous and absolute. Then I'll kill my world first. What? Victor. He's going down, and I'll make sure of it. His voice was cold now, calculated. And then, I'm out. My heart stopped. Out? From the mafia. From crime. From everything. He looked at me with raw sincerity. I'll clean up my life and make everything legitimate. It'll take time, but I'll do it. Why? Why would you do that? For you. Simple and direct. I'd do anything for you. Absolutely anything. Gray, my voice broke. You can't change your whole life for me. I can and I will. He leaned closer. Because for the first time I have a reason. I have a future I want. With you. If you'll let me. This is going to be dangerous. And Victor won't touch you again. It was a promise. And a threat. I guarantee it. With my life if necessary. I don't want your life. I want you, alive and safe. I held his face, whole. Then stay with me. He turned his face and kissed my palm. Let me protect you. Let me love you the right way, the way you deserve. What about last week? The confusion? It was real, and you had a right to be angry and confused. He pressed his forehead to mine. But please, give me another chance. One last chance to do this right. I looked into his eyes and saw everything. Fear, love, desperation, hope, and determination. This man was on his knees in front of me, vulnerable. Offering everything, promising to change his entire world, for me. One condition, my voice was firm now. Anything. Honesty, total and always. About everything. Danger, problems, fears, everything. I promise. No hesitation. And I'm coming with you in this exit from this life. I'll help you and be your partner for real. Something passed across his face. Relief, gratitude, and love so intense it almost hurt to look at. Partner, he agreed. In everything. He pulled me into his arms again, more gentle now. Safe and complete. And for the first time in a week, I breathed completely. There was still danger because Victor was still out there, and the future was still uncertain. But we had each other, finally, and completely, and honestly. And maybe, just maybe, that was enough to face anything. Chapter 7. War and Worth.
I won't be controlled.
You're staying here. Gray said this the next day after I woke up in the guest room of his apartment, and he'd let me sleep alone, respecting boundaries even after everything. Now with breakfast on the table, he was serious, dangerously serious. Stay here? I repeated, holding my coffee cup. In the apartment with me, until Victor is neutralized. He leaned back in his chair. It's not a request, Ren. I can't risk you again. For how long? 2 weeks. Maybe 3. He ran his hand through his hair in a gesture I already knew meant stress. I'll resolve this fast. But I need to know you're safe. What about my job? Already talked to Oliver and you're on leave. Paid. Officially for security reasons. He looked at me. Mia will stay here with you for company and for extra security. You already planned everything. Yes. No apologies. Because I'm not losing you. Not when I just got you back. I wanted to argue, and part of me wanted to say I could take care of myself. But the truth? After yesterday, I was terrified and grateful for the protection. Okay, I nodded. 2 weeks. But you keep me informed about everything. I promise. He stood and came to me, kissed my forehead gently. I'll end this, and then we'll have our life for real. Mia arrived an hour later with 2 suitcases, and eyes wide looking at the apartment. Okay, your criminal boyfriend is rich. She dropped the suitcases. Like, absurdly rich. Mia! What? Am I wrong? She spun around, admiring everything. Incredible view. Perfect decor. Armed security downstairs. This is James Bond level wealth. He's trying to keep me safe. I know, and it's kind of sexy in a terrifying way. She hugged me tight. How are you? Really? Scared? Confused? In love? Honesty flowing out. All at the same time. Welcome to the most intense relationship in the world. She smiled. But he loves you. I saw it in his eyes yesterday. And that man would kill for you. I know. And I did. Completely. That's why I'm here. The first few days were strange because I was living in Gray's apartment, but without Gray since he left early and came back late. Always exhausted and always tense. But every night he sent me messages. Productive day. Closer to resolving. I love you. Difficult but necessary meeting. Thinking of you. Always. I miss you. So much. Soon this ends and you're completely mine. Mia and I created a routine where we watched movies, cooked, and talked about everything, and she distracted me when I got too anxious. Tell me about him, she asked on the 5th night with wine in hand. The real Gray, not the criminal, the man. I smiled, because it was impossible not to smile thinking about him. He's complex, always sarcastic, but kind in unexpected ways. I played with my glass. He laughs at my clumsiness, makes me feel special without trying, and looks at me like I'm the most important thing in the world. You are to him. Mia tilted her head. I saw how he was yesterday, desperate and destroyed at the idea of something happening to you. He promised to get out from the Mafia and from everything. My voice was low. For me. Wow, Mia whistled softly. That's big. I know. And it's terrifying because what if he regrets it? What if it's impossible to get out? Then you figure it out together. She took my hand. But he's trying for you. And that counts. A lot. 8th day, Gray arrived late, later than usual, and I heard the door open with tired footsteps. Mia had gone to sleep and I was awake, reading on the couch and waiting. He appeared in the living room and stopped when he saw me with surprise and relief. Thought you'd be sleeping, he said, with a voice hoarse from exhaustion. Couldn't, I stood. How'd it go? Progress, good progress. He took off his jacket and loosened his tie. A few more days, maybe a week. I noticed then the bruise on his face, small but visible near his left eye. You're hurt. My voice came out worried. It's nothing. He touched the bruise absently. Difficult meeting. I approached and reached for his face gently, and he closed his eyes at my touch. You need to rest. I need you. He opened his eyes with total intensity. Just you. He pulled me into an embrace that was tight with his face buried in my hair, breathing deeply like my scent was oxygen. Almost done, he murmured against my hair. Almost. And then you come back to me, to our life. I never left. I whispered back. I'm here. Always here. We stayed like that for I don't know how long with him needing comfort, and me offering it. Simple and perfect and complete. 12th day. The message I was waiting for arrived. It's done. Victor neutralized. Territory secure. You're safe. Coming home. To you. Gee. My heart raced with my hands trembling holding the phone. Mia! I shouted. It's over! He did it! She came running from the bedroom, read the message and screamed too, and we hugged jumping like teenagers. Is he coming? She asked. He's coming home to me. Tears of relief were falling. It's really over. An hour later, I heard it. Key in the door opening, footsteps, and then he was there, Gray in the hallway with his eyes searching for me and finding me. I didn't think, just ran, crossed the room in seconds and threw myself into his arms, and he caught me, lifted me off the ground, spun once with his face buried in my neck. Are you okay? I asked against his shoulder. Are you hurt? Did something happen? I'm fine. Perfect now. He put me back on the ground with his hands framing my face. It's over, really over, and you're safe. And Victor, neutralized, won't touch you again. Us. Ever. Absolute determination filled his voice. I made sure of it. Tears were falling freely now with relief, happiness, and love overflowing. 2 weeks, I said. 2 weeks without you for real. It was horrible. I know. For me too. He wiped my tears with his thumbs. But now we have time. All the time in the world. And then he kissed me. Finally. After everything. All the provocations. All the tension. All the fear. The kiss was loaded and desperate with fear transformed into relief. Relief transformed into love. And love transformed into promise. I deepened the kiss with my hands in his hair, pulling closer, wanting to erase weeks of distance and fear and uncertainty. When we pulled apart, both breathing hard, he pressed his forehead to mine. I love you, he said. I love you so much it scares me. I love you too. The words came easily and true. I was afraid to say it. Why? He looked at me, confused. Because it's real, and real can hurt. Raw honesty poured out. I could lose you. And that terrifies me. You won't lose me. It was a fierce promise. Never. I made my choice. You. Always you. Above everything. He kissed me again, more gentle now, deep and full of promise. Hi? Mia's voice came, trying not to laugh, still here witnessing this cinematic moment. We pulled apart with laughter, and Gray was still holding me, not seeming to want to let go. Thank you, Mia, he said, for taking care of her. You're welcome. But now I'm going back to my apartment and letting you two reconnect. She winked. With dignity and privacy, she hugged me quick and whispered in my ear, "Enjoy it, you deserve it," and she left, leaving the two of us finally alone and completely. Gray looked at me with a silent question in his eyes. Permission, consent, certainty. I took his hand. Come. That night was, I don't have the right words, and I won't describe details, because some moments are just ours, private and sacred, but it was gentle and full of feeling, and he touched me like I was precious, fragile, and essential, looked at me like he was memorizing every detail, every breath, every moment. And after, lying together with my head on his chest and his fingers drawing patterns on my back, I finally breathed completely. I was afraid to say I loved you, I admitted in the silence, because doing that meant admitting how much you matter, how much I needed you. I was afraid too. His voice reverberated in the chest under my cheek. Never loved anyone before and didn't know how, but you taught me. I didn't do anything. You were you, authentic and real, chaotic and perfect. He kissed my head. You made me want to be better for you, and because of you, I won't let you get hurt. Not for me. I looked at him, serious. If getting out of the Mafia puts you in danger, it won't. He pulled me closer. Already started the transition, slowly and carefully, and Dominic is taking over territory while I'm getting out gradually. It takes time, but it's safe. How long? 6 months, maybe a year to be completely clean. He looked at me. Can you wait that long? I'll be by your side every step. It was a promise. Partners, remember? Partners, he agreed, smiling, in everything. Next morning, I woke to the smell of coffee and something burning. I entered the kitchen and found Gray fighting with the coffee maker, with smoke coming from a clearly sacrificed piece of toast. Are you cooking? I tried not to laugh. Trying. He looked at the black toast, failing miserably. I laughed because I couldn't help it, and I approached and took the destroyed toast. I'll make breakfast and you sit and look pretty. Look pretty? He raised an eyebrow. It's your natural talent. Don't fight it. I winked. He pulled me by the waist fast and kissed me, tasty and distracted. Sarcasm in the morning, my favorite kind. We made breakfast together with me actually cooking, and him purposely getting in the way just to hear me complain. And there was laughter, lightness, and a normalcy we'd never had before. I want to show you something, he said after coffee was finished. Come. He took me to his office that was elegant and masculine with a huge desk covered in papers. He grabbed a folder and handed it to me. What's this? I opened it to find legal documents, many of them. Complex. Hotel Sinclair. He watched my reaction. I'm transferring ownership, cleaning everything, making it legal, completely legal. I looked at the papers, then at him. Why? Because I want to give it to you. The world stopped. What? The hotel? Your dream? I want it to be yours for real, not as possession, but as a gift. He moved closer. You said you wanted to manage your own hotel someday. Well, this is your day. Gray, I can't. You can, and it'll take months to completely clean it. But when it's ready, it's yours. He took my hands. Legitimate, legal, your dream realized. Tears were falling again because it seemed like all I did lately was cry, but these were happy, completely happy. Why would you do this? Because I love you, because I believe in you, because you deserve everything you ever wanted, simple and sincere, and because I want to build a future with you, a clean future, honest and real. I threw myself into his arms, crying and laughing both at the same time. I love you so much. Too much. Never too much. He held me tight, always just right. We stayed there embraced, planning the future together, finally together for real. There was still work because Gray needed to complete the transition, and I needed to learn to actually manage a hotel legally and appropriately. But we had time and love and determination, and for the first time since I walked into that fateful bathroom, everything felt right. Still chaotic and definitely complicated, but ours, completely ours, and it was exactly perfect that way. Chapter 8, Building Together.
We need you to take the case. It's critical. Can you do it?
3 months later, I woke to the smell of burnt coffee, again. I opened my eyes slowly to soft light coming through the bedroom curtains. Our bed, our apartment, our life. It still seemed surreal sometimes. I stretched and walked to the kitchen where Gray was there, fighting with the coffee maker like it had personally offended him, with messy hair, shirtless, and pajama pants hanging on his hips. 3 months living together, and I still lost my breath at the sight. You're massacring the coffee again, I observed, leaning against the doorframe. He turned and that slow smile appeared. Good morning to you too. Seriously, Gray, how does someone so smart not know how to make coffee? I have other talents. He abandoned the coffee maker and approached, pulled me by the waist. Want me to demonstrate? It's 7 in the morning. And he kissed my neck. then my shoulder. I'm not seeing the problem. I laughed and pushed him gently. Coffee first, demonstrations later. Promise? He bit my shoulder lightly. Promise? I escaped from his arms and went to the coffee maker. Now go and let me save our breakfast. He sat on the counter watching me work, because he always did this. Looked at me doing mundane things like they were fascinating. Stop looking at me like that, I murmured, measuring the coffee grounds. Like what? Like I'm doing something extraordinary. It's just coffee. You're doing it, so it's extraordinary. A simple answer and sincere. My heart squeezed the good way, the way that happened 50 times a day now. You're ridiculous. You're ridiculous. He stole a piece of fruit I was cutting. Big difference. Coffee ready. We sat together in a routine that had become sacred. 30 minutes every morning with just us, planning the day and talking about nothing and everything. Meeting with lawyers today, Gray said, drinking coffee and making a face because my coffee was too strong for him, but he drank it anyway. More hotel paperwork. How much longer? I asked for the 1,000th time. 2 months, maybe 3. He took my hand. It's happening. Slow, but happening. I'm anxious for it to be official, to really be mine. It's already yours and the paper just formalizes it. He kissed my fingers. How's work? Is Oliver still trying to teach you things you already know? I laughed. He means well. He's just overprotective. With good reason, because you're precious. No sarcasm. Just truth. To me, to the hotel, to everyone. Working at the Sinclair had changed completely because I was still officially manager in training, but now I knew the truth, and I was learning not just hospitality, but business, transition, how to clean up a company, and how to make everything legitimate. Gray taught me with patience and detail, treating me as an equal and as a real partner. I'll be late today, I warned, training on the new reservation system. Me too, meeting with Dominic for the final territory transfer. He paused. It's going to be strange not being in that anymore. Do you regret it? A small fear, always present. Never, immediate answer. Fierce. Best decision I ever made. And you're the best decision I ever made. I leaned in and kissed him, tasty and slow, a silent promise of gratitude and love. You guys are disgusting. We pulled apart laughing, because Mia was at the door with the key Gray had given her, and she always showed up without warning. Good morning, Mia. Gray didn't look embarrassed at all. Coffee? Please, as long as Ren makes it, because your version is a crime against humanity. Everyone's a critic, he muttered, but he was smiling. Nights were my favorite part. Cooking together had become tradition with me doing real work, and Gray helping, which usually meant purposely getting in the way just to hear me complain. Are you going to cut the tomatoes? I asked for the 3rd time. I'm supervising. He was leaning on the counter with a wine glass in hand, watching me. Supervising isn't real work. It's important work, and ensures everything is being done correctly. Gray? I stopped and looked at him, serious. Tomatoes now. He sighed dramatically but picked up the knife and started cutting slowly and deliberately. I went back to the stove, stirring sauce, with the smell of garlic and basil filling the kitchen. Arms closed around my waist from behind with his chin on my shoulder. Did you cut the tomatoes? I asked, suspicious. I cut 3, that's sufficient. Gray! Shh, I'm having a moment. He kissed my neck. My moment appreciating my beautiful girlfriend making dinner. You're impossible. I'm your impossible, echoing the morning. Huge difference. I turned in the circle of his arms and faced him with his dark eyes watching me with that intensity that never diminished. I love you, I said, and it still sounded new and special every day. I love you more, his automatic response now. Impossible. My love is mathematically greater. Can't prove it. He was smiling that genuine smile, rare for others, but frequent for me. I have charts. Show me later. He kissed me gently. Now finish dinner before it burns. We ate on the balcony with the city view and lights starting to turn on, and we had easy conversation about the day, plans, and the future. Dominic asked about you, Gray mentioned casually. Asked what? If you're happy, and if I'm treating you well? He took a sip of wine. Threatened to break me if you're not? I laughed. Dominic is sweet. Dominic is my right hand, and he's going soft. But he was smiling. But yes, he likes you. And everyone does. Even the ones who didn't want you to leave. Silence. Brief and heavy. This was the difficult side. The part we didn't talk about much. But it existed. Always present. Some still push, Gray admitted. Think I'm making a mistake and that you're a weakness. My stomach tightened. Am I? No. He took my hand and squeezed. Your strength, reason, and future, and they don't understand, but it doesn't matter. What if they try to? They won't. A cold promise. Dangerous. I made it very clear that you're untouchable. Absolutely untouchable. Gray. No discussion, Ren. He looked at me. serious. I won't lose you. Not again. Never again. I nodded because arguing was useless, and this was the side of him that was still criminal, protective, possessive, and dangerous. And strangely, I didn't care because it came from love, from fear of losing, and from the need to protect. That night I woke from a nightmare. Kidnapping again with the black van, hands grabbing me, screaming but no one hearing, being taken, losing Gray, losing everything. I woke with a scream stuck in my throat, cold sweat, and heart racing. Hey, I'm here, Gray's voice, immediate and awake. Arms pulled me against his solid chest, with his hand stroking my hair and lips kissing my forehead. Nightmare again? He asked gently. Sorry, I woke you. I don't care. Never care. He held me tighter. Same thing? Van? Them trying to take you? Yes. My voice was small and embarrassed. Look at me. A gentle command. I looked, and his dark eyes were serious and intense. You're safe. With me. Always with me. Each word was deliberate. No one will take you. No one will hurt you. I guarantee it. With my life if necessary. I don't want your life. I want you. Alive and here. I'm here, and always will be. He lay back down and pulled me with him, my body over his, with his heart beating strong and steady under my ear. Sleep. I'm holding you, and nothing will get you while I'm here. And I slept because I believed him completely. Work at the hotel was surreal. Oliver had stopped treating me like a beginner, and now I was a colleague, an equal, and he taught me complex things, business, finance, and real management. You have natural talent, he said one day, reviewing my occupancy report. Gray chose well. Chose? I raised an eyebrow. To manage when the transfer is finalized. Oliver looked at me. You know you're going to be the official manager, right? Not a front like me, but real. I wasn't sure. Well, you should be, because he's cleaning everything and making it legal for you. Oliver smiled. Rare for him. That's a lot of love, Ren. A lot. I know, and I did. Felt it every day. A month after that conversation, Gray came home different. Strange energy, with contained excitement, and a secret in his eyes. What happened? I asked immediately. Can't hide anything from you. He took off his jacket and loosened his tie. No, so stop trying. What happened? He pulled me to the couch. Serious now. Transfer was approved and final documents were signed today. My heart stopped. What? Hotel Sinclair. He held my hands. It's clean, completely legal, and it's officially yours in 2 weeks. Instant tears came because I couldn't control them. Mine, yours, legal property, official manager, your dream. He wiped my tears. Realized. Gray, my voice was broken. I have no words. You don't need words. He pulled me onto his lap and held me. Your face is words enough. I cried from happiness, pure and complete, because this was a dream I'd had since college, realized by this impossible man who had turned my life upside down. How do I thank you for this? I asked against his neck. By being happy, realizing your dream, and building a future. He kissed my head. With me, always with me, always. A promise, a vow, an absolute truth. 2 weeks later, there was a small ceremony at the hotel with lawyers, Oliver, Mia, Dominic, and some key employees. Papers were signed, and ownership was officially transferred. Hotel Sinclair was mine, legally and completely mine. Gray watched me from across the room with pride on his face, love, and satisfaction at seeing a dream realized. Later, when everyone had gone, we were alone in the lobby. My hotel, my dream. How do you feel? He asked, hugging me from behind. Like I'm dreaming and afraid to wake up. It's not a dream, it's real. You're real, and we're real. He turned me around and framed my face. And I'm so proud of you. You made this happen. I facilitated, but you made it happen with your talent, your passion, and your dedication. He kissed my forehead. You deserve this. All of this. I looked around at the hotel I'd entered nervously 3 months ago, where I'd invaded a bathroom, met this impossible man, and fallen headfirst into this chaotic love story. And now it was mine. Completely mine. Thank you, I whispered. For everything. For believing, for changing, for loving me. Thank you. He pressed his forehead to mine. For making me want to be better. For giving me a future. For loving me when I didn't deserve it. You always deserved it. No, but I'll spend the rest of my life trying to deserve you. We kissed there in the empty lobby of my hotel. Our beginning, our story. There were still challenges because Gray still had connections to cut, and I had a hotel to actually manage, and a life to build together. But we had a foundation with love, trust, and real partnership. And with that, we could face anything, together. Chapter 9, Proposals and Promises.
I am not changing my mind on this.
6 months, half a year since that ridiculous first day in the bathroom, and half a year since my life turned upside down in the best possible way. I didn't know it, but Gray was planning something. He'd been acting strange the last week, distracted and smiling to himself at random moments, with whispered conversations with Dominic that stopped abruptly when I entered the room. "You're hiding something," I accused one night at dinner. "I'm not," an obvious lie because he was terrible at lying to me now. "You are, and your eyes do this thing." I imitated the way he looked away when lying. "My eyes don't do that." But he was smiling, that secretive smile again. "Gray, patience." He took my hand and kissed my fingers. "Just a little more patience." I rolled my eyes but let it go because if there was one thing I'd learned about Gray in these 6 months, it was that his surprises were always worth it. Friday night, Gray came home earlier than usual. "You need to get dressed," he said, too casual and trying to seem nonchalant. "Get dressed for what?" "Dinner at the hotel." He was already walking to the bedroom. "Something elegant, event-like." "What event? There's nothing scheduled today." "There is now. Come on." 1 hour. He disappeared into the closet before I could question further. Mia showed up 20 minutes later with a dress, makeup, and determination in her eyes. "You knew?" I accused immediately. "I don't know anything." Huge smile and terrible lie. "Now sit. I'm going to make you stunning." "Mia." "No questions, just trust." She was already opening her makeup bag. "Today is special, I promise." An hour later, I was in the dark blue dress with hair down in waves and soft but elegant makeup. And Gray was waiting in the living room in a tuxedo. He stopped when he saw me with that look that still made me blush after 6 months. "Beautiful," he said with a hoarse voice. "Always beautiful." "You too." I adjusted his tie. "Now are you going to tell me what's happening?" "No," he took my hand. "Come, you'll see." The car took us to the hotel, my hotel, and the parking lot was empty, which was strange for Friday night. "Gray, what? Do you trust me?" He looked at me serious now. "Always." "Then come." We entered through the lobby that was empty too, with soft lights and classical music playing quietly, and rose petals on the floor formed a path to the elevator. My heart started racing. "Gray, shh." He guided me to the elevator and pressed the 12th floor. 12th floor, room 1207. "You didn't..." I started. "I did." That smile appeared. Nervous now and genuinely nervous. The elevator stopped, doors opened, and more petals were there, leading to that door. The door, room 1207. Gray opened it and let me enter first, and I laughed because I couldn't help it. Laughed out loud and genuine. The bathtub was full, but not with foam, instead with rose petals. Hundreds of them floating in the water with candles everywhere and soft light that was romantic and ridiculous and perfect. "Scene of the crime," Gray said behind me with a light tone, but his voice trembling. I turned and he was there, nervous, more nervous than I'd ever seen him, with his hands in his pockets and stiff posture. "You're ridiculous," I said, still laughing. "And you love me like this." It wasn't a question but certainty, though there was vulnerability in his eyes. "I do," I confirmed. "Completely." He took a deep breath, took his hands out of his pockets and knelt, right there in the bathroom where it all began, where I'd screamed and almost drowned in foam, where our impossible story had started. A small box appeared in his hand, dark blue velvet, and he opened it, revealing a ring that was beautiful with a perfect diamond, simple but elegant. Exactly my style. Exactly my. "Ren," his voice was shaking now. Really shaking. "6 months ago, you walked into this bathroom and turned my life upside down, brought chaos, the best kind of chaos. Tears were already falling because I couldn't stop them. You made me laugh when I'd forgotten how, made me feel when I was dead inside, made me want to be better for you and because of you." He held the box with both hands, steady. "You brought chaos into my life, the best kind. So this is my fault?" I tried to joke, but my voice came out teary. "Totally." He smiled that genuine smile, vulnerable. "Will you take responsibility? Marry me?" "Yes." I didn't even let him finish properly. "Yes. Obviously, yes." He slid the ring onto my finger with hands trembling, and mine too, and it was perfect because it fit perfectly. He pulled me up into his arms and kissed me, desperate and relieved and happy, completely happy. When we pulled apart, both laughing and crying at the same time, he pressed his forehead to mine. "You said yes." "Of course I said yes, idiot." I laughed through tears. "Did you think I'd say no?" "I was terrified you would." Raw honesty. Never proposed to anyone before and didn't know if I was doing it right. It was perfect. Ridiculous, but perfect. I looked at the ring shining in the soft light. "Like you." "Ridiculous?" He feigned offense. "And perfect." I kissed him again. My perfect ridiculous. We left the room hand in hand and went down to the lobby. And there they were. Mia, Dominic, Oliver, champagne, and simple but beautiful decoration. "Surprise!" Mia shouted, then saw the ring. "She said yes!" She ran to me and hugged me so hard we almost fell. From the bathtub to the altar, she was crying and laughing. "You're going to marry the foam bath man." My face exploded in flames. "Don't say it like that." "But it's true." She spun me around. "Best love story of all time." Gray was laughing, loud and genuine. with Dominic beside him and a small smile on his normally serious face. "Boss," Dominic said while Mia and I were still screaming. "You're happy." "I am." Gray looked at me with obvious love that was complete. "I'm very happy. Never thought I'd see this." Dominic extended his hand and Gray shook it. "You going soft, smiling. Truly happy." "Me neither. But Gray didn't finish, because he didn't need to. "She's special," Dominic completed. "She is." Simple agreement and absolute truth. Oliver appeared with champagne, and we toasted with laughter and stories. And Mia told anyone who'd listen about the ridiculous bathroom meeting. "I'm never going to live this down," I muttered to Gray with my face still hot. "You shouldn't," he pulled me against his chest. "It's our story, perfect and chaotic, like us." The following days were a whirlwind of planning and decisions, but surprisingly easy, because we discovered we agreed on everything important. "I want something small," I said, flipping through wedding magazines Mia had brought. "Me too." Gray closed the magazine. "I don't need hundreds of people, just the ones who matter." I looked at him, surprised. "You agree? I thought you'd want something big to show power or something." "No." He took my hand. "This is ours, and I don't need to prove anything to anyone. I just want you, me, and people we love. Simple." "At the hotel?" I suggested. "Garden?" "Perfect." He smiled. "Where it all started, where everything matters." We planned together with a small list. Mia as obvious maid of honor, and Dominic as reluctant but honored best man. "Me?" Dominic had asked when Gray asked. "You sure?" "Absolutely. You're the brother I chose, and of course I want you there." Dominic had been speechless, which was rare, then nodded. "Would be an honor." Oliver was helping with hotel logistics, catering, decoration, and music. "It'll be beautiful," he assured. "Your wedding, your hotel, your beginning." 3 weeks of planning that was simple, elegant, and perfect. The night before the wedding, Gray and I were dining alone, and tradition said not to see each other, but we ignored it. "Nervous?" I asked. Terrified. Honesty. "What if you wake up tomorrow and realize you're making a mistake?" "I won't." I held his face. "You're the best decision I ever made, along with invading that bathroom." He laughed. "Second best decision. First was giving me a chance after." "True." I kissed him, tasty and slow. "But tomorrow?" "Tomorrow, you're officially mine. I'm already yours, and the paper just confirms it. And you're officially mine too. Always was." He pulled me onto his lap. "Since that ridiculous first day, always yours." We stayed like that. Embraced, planning tomorrow and an entire lifetime together. Finally, officially, and eternally together, and I couldn't wait. Chapter 10. Happily chaotic after the day dawned perfect.
I'm ready.
Blue sky with bright sun but not too hot, and a gentle breeze that made the trees in Hotel Sinclair's garden sway softly, like the universe knew that today was the day. I woke in the hotel's guest room because of a silly tradition that Gray had insisted on. "We don't see each other until you walk to me," he'd said. "I want that moment of seeing you and knowing it's real." Mia had been by my side since 6 in the morning with hair, makeup, dress, and an organized frenzy of preparation. "Stop touching your hair," she slapped my hand for the 5th time. "It's perfect. It's too done up and doesn't look like me. It looks like you in the best version." She turned me to the mirror. "Look." I looked and didn't recognize myself for a second. The dress was simple, A-line with delicate lace and not much sparkle, elegant but not over the top, exactly what I wanted. And my hair was down in natural waves with soft makeup. Me, but more. "It's perfect," Mia said, with eyes already shining. "Gray is going to die. Don't let him die because I need him alive for the vows." She laughed, cried a little, and hugged me. "I'm so happy for you. So happy you found him, even if it was in the most ridiculous way possible." "The best way," I corrected. "Perfect for us." In the garden, Gray was dying of nerves. Dominic was beside him, watching the boss fall apart. "Stop touching your tie," Dominic said for the 10th time. "It's perfect. It's crooked or too tight, I don't know." Gray pulled at it again. "I can't breathe. It's nerves, not the tie. What if she changes her mind? What if she walks up here and realizes she's making a mistake? She won't." Dominic put his hand on the boss's shoulder in a rare gesture. "She loves you, and you saw the way she looks at you. She deserves better. Maybe, but she chose you. So respect her choice." Gray took a deep breath and looked around at the simple decoration with white chairs, white and blue flowers, a small altar, just family and close friends. People who really mattered. Perfect. Oliver appeared. 5 minutes. Gray went pale. 5. "Breathe," Dominic ordered. "You commanded a criminal empire, and you can survive your own wedding." Empire was easier, but Gray was smiling now. Nervous, but smiling. Music started. Soft and classical, meaning it was time. Guests sat. 20 people. That's all. Intimates and important ones. Gray positioned himself at the altar with Dominic beside him, both impeccable in tuxedos. Mia entered first in a light blue dress, already crying. Hadn't even seen me yet. and already crying. And then the music changed to our song, the one that played in the elevator when we got stuck. Doors opened, and there I was. Gray saw me and froze completely. I started walking slowly and alone, because I'd chosen it that way, walking by my own choice to him, for him, and with him, each step closer with his eyes fixed on me, shining and vulnerable and emotional. When I got close, I saw it. A tear, a single tear falling down his face. Gray was crying for the first time visibly in front of everyone. "Hi," I whispered when I stopped in front of him. "Hi." His voice was hoarse and emotional. I have no words. "First time for everything," I smiled. He laughed, small and emotional, and held my hands like they were an anchor. The officiant began with traditional words about love, commitment, and eternity. And then it was time for vows. Me first with paper in hand, trembling, but necessary because I wanted to say it right. "Gray," I took a deep breath. "You came into my life through the most ridiculous mistake. Wrong door, but right moment." Light laughter from the audience. "I promise to always open wrong doors if they lead me to you. I promise to laugh at your provocations. I promise to let you make me horrible coffee every morning. I promise to be your partner in everything, always and forever." Tears were falling freely now. His and mine. His turn with no paper, straight from the heart. "Ren," his voice was trembling, "you made me laugh in a humorless world, and made me feel when I was dead inside. And I promise to protect you, love you, and try not to be too sarcastic." A pause with a mischievous look even through the tears. "I don't promise success at that." Laughter. Genuine and loving. "But I promise to try to be worthy of you every day for the rest of my life." His voice was serious now. "I love you and always will. Since that ridiculous first day in the bathroom, always." "Rings," the officiant requested. Dominic handed them over, and Mia too, with hands still trembling and emotions overflowing. Gray slid the ring onto my finger, slow and deliberate, like he was saving the moment. I did the same with his ring, a symbol, a promise, eternity. "By the powers vested in me," the officiant smiled, "I now pronounce you husband and wife, and you may kiss the bride." Gray didn't wait for a second invitation, and pulled me in, kissed me deep and complete with promise in every touch, applause and shouts, and Mia sobbing loudly. But everything was distant with the world reduced to this kiss, this moment, this man who was now my husband. When we pulled apart, he pressed his forehead to mine. "My wife, my husband," testing the words, and they were perfect. Sounds good, sounds perfect. The reception was small and intimate with dinner in the hotel's main hall. Simple but elegant decoration, soft music, conversation, laughter, and love. First dance was interesting. Gray guided me across the floor like he'd done at the event months ago, but this time was different because there was no tension and no doubts, just certainty, happiness, and completeness. "We did it," he said quietly. "We really did it. Did you doubt it?" "Every day until today. Honesty. But you're here with me, my wife, and it's real. Very real." I squeezed his hand. "Stuck with you forever. Best prison in the world." We cut cake, toasted, and danced more with hours passing in perfect happiness. And when it ended, when the last guest left, we were alone in the garden, where we'd gotten married, and where we'd promised eternity. "Ready?" Gray asked. "For what? For the rest of our life?" "More than ready." I kissed him, tasty and slow. "Let's go home, husband. Let's go home, wife." 1 year later, Hotel Sinclair was thriving. Under my management, occupancy had increased 30% with excellent reviews, happy staff and satisfied guests, and everything was working perfectly. Gray had kept his promise and was completely out of crime now. As a legitimate security consultant who used knowledge from the past for good, helped companies, protected people, and did honest work that was legal, and his, still sarcastic, I complained frequently. "But all yours," he always retorted. Life had fallen into an adorable routine with work, home, and each other. Simple and perfect. Tuesday morning in the kitchen with me making coffee and Gray trying to help. I turned too fast and my elbow hit his cup. Coffee flew everywhere. Floor, table, my blouse. "Seriously?" I looked at the disaster. Gray was laughing, of course. Always laughing. "Natural talent," he commented, grabbing a towel. "Shut up." But I was smiling and kissed him quick. "I love you, reformed jerk." "I love you too, little disaster." He cleaned coffee from my blouse gently. "My favorite little disaster. Only little disaster. And the only one that matters." Today was an anniversary, not of the wedding, but of the meeting. That first day with the bathroom and foam, and the beginning of everything. A silly tradition had started where every year we returned to room 1207 for a bubble bath, remembering and celebrating. "Ready?" Gray asked that evening with a briefcase in hand. "For our ridiculous annual date?" "Always." Room 1207 was prepared with the bathtub full, foam to the top, candles, champagne, and everything perfect. We entered laughing with memories that were absurd and perfect. "Remember when you invaded my bath?" Gray asked, already in the tub with me beside him. How could I forget? Worst day of my life. Pretending. Liar. Okay. Best day. Happy. Very. He pulled me closer with water and foam everywhere. Best mistake you ever made. Second best. First was giving you a second chance. Touché. We stayed there in the ridiculous bathtub with our even more ridiculous tradition, but it was ours. Completely ours. Later that night back at the apartment, I was nervous with my heart racing, and a secret I'd kept for 3 days. Gray. I sat beside him on the couch. I need to tell you something. He got serious immediately. What? Something wrong? No, nothing wrong. I took a deep breath. Remember I said I wasn't feeling well? Yes, you said it was the flu. It wasn't the flu. I took his hand and placed it on my belly. Still flat, but not for much longer. It's a baby. Silence. Total and absolute. Gray froze with his hand on my belly and eyes wide, processing. His voice disappeared and he tried again. A baby, I confirmed. Smiling now. Our baby. We're going to have, he was still processing, a baby. In 7 months, more or less. Tears were starting, happy ones. We're going to be parents. And then he moved fast and pulled me into a hug so tight I could barely breathe with his face buried in my neck and body shaking. Crying. Gray was crying again, the second time I'd seen it. Wedding. And now, we're having a baby, he repeated. Amazed. A baby. Yes, I laughed through my own tears. A clumsy or sarcastic baby. He pulled back and looked at me, laughing and crying. Probably both, poor thing. Or poor little girl. Boy or girl, doesn't matter. He put his hands on my face. Our child. Ours. Ours, I agreed. Scared? Terrified. Honesty. And happier than I've ever been in my life. We kissed, celebrating the future, family, and love growing literally. Epilogue. 3 years later. Daddy, look! Gray was on the living room floor with his expensive suit forgotten and tie pulled, completely dominated by a small tornado of dark curls and big eyes. Lily, our daughter, 2.5 years old and an exact replica of me, with personality. Well, Gray contributed quite a bit too. I'm looking, little one. Gray held the block she'd stacked. Very tall. Taller. She grabbed another block and stacked it. The tower wobbled and fell with blocks flying. Oops! Oops is right, Gray laughed, helping gather blocks. Just like Mommy, on the other side of the room finishing hotel emails. I rolled my eyes. I heard that. You were supposed to. He looked at me with that smile that still melted me. Lily has Mommy's disaster gene, and Daddy's sarcasm. Poor thing. Poor thing nothing. She's going to rule the world. Gray lifted Lily and spun her with her giggling. My princess of chaos. I watched with my heart squeezing the good way, because this man, a reformed criminal who was intimidating and powerful, was completely melted by a 2-year-old girl. Who would have thought? I commented. The jerk became a doting dad. Shut up. But he was smiling. Huge and genuine. Never. Lily ran to me. Mommy. Park. After lunch, my love. I picked her up, heavy and growing too fast. Daddy will go with us. Daddy always goes. Gray approached and hugged us both. Never misses park with my girls. Hotel Sinclair was thriving with 5 stars maintained an excellent reputation. My pride and my dream realized. Gray worked less now by his choice, because he wanted time with family, with us, and his priorities had changed completely. Happy? He asked later, with Lily napping and us on the couch intertwined. Delirious. I kissed his neck. You? More than I imagined possible. He squeezed tighter. You, Lily. Home, family, clean life, everything I never thought I'd have. And all because I walked through the wrong door. Wrong door, he agreed. Completely right moment. We stayed like that, embraced, with a perfect life that wasn't perfect without problems, but perfect for us. Still chaotic, because Lily guaranteed that, and with a second baby on the way from last week's discovery that I still hadn't told Gray about. A surprise for later. More chaos coming, with more love and more adorable disasters. And I wouldn't change anything, absolutely anything, because sometimes the wrong door leads to everything right. The right person, the right life, the right love. And I'd found all of that in a ridiculous bubble bath, with a sarcastic criminal who turned my world upside down in the most perfect way possible. Wrong door, a problem that became solution, chaos that became peace, and crime that became redemption. Our story, impossible and ridiculous and perfect.
Nell, Easter eggs you might have missed in this chaotic love story. The elevator music becomes the wedding theme. The classical music that was playing when Ren and Gray got stuck in the elevator the moment she grabbed his arm in the dark is the same music chosen for her entrance at the altar. Gray only cries twice. Throughout the entire story, Gray cries visibly only twice. When he sees Ren walking down the aisle, and when he finds out he's going to be a father. Moments that leave him completely vulnerable. The wet pattern. Ren spills liquids on Gray 3 times throughout the story. Bogfu foam from the bath first meeting. Coffee on his white suit 3 months later. And coffee in the kitchen after they're married. It's her chaotic signature on the relationship. Lily equals the Lilies. Their daughter is named Lily, connecting to the surviving Lily that Gray left in Wren's office with the note survivor. Like you, symbolizing that their love and daughter was born from chaos, but survived.